What's up, folks? Recording another best ball draft here. Looking like we got pick number 9. So I've ran like incredibly weird this year in these best ball drafts. This is my 45th draft, and I've only picked first, second, or third 6 times, which is like half as often as I should. But I'm sure it'll work itself out over the summer. It's just like kind of annoying because I'm only got about 50 entries into this tournament, and my ownership percentage is obviously going to be pretty affected by that because I'm ending up with a lot of like the same players. So far I got like 20% Justin Jefferson and 20% Jamar Chase. Not that that's anything to complain about. Here we're probably looking to go wide receiver. Guess I could consider Najee if Jefferson, Hill, and Adams go, but I much prefer being 0 RB in these early drafts because I think the value is a little bit better on running backs. Plus, if you're taking a lot of the backups like Khalil Herbert and Daryl Henderson, guys like that I'm super overweight on, you obviously benefit huge if some sort of injury happens. So here we'll happily take Tyreek. That's nice because he's one of the only wide receivers that I really haven't been overweight on. And obviously Cooper Kupp I'm not overweight on because I don't ever pick first, second, or third, so I just haven't really got him much. I think I've only gotten 2 Cooper Kupps, 3 Jonathan Taylors, and 1 CMC. And this is now 45 drafts. So we could look at Kelsey and try to build the Chief stack. I've already done that a couple times, but I'm not really against doing it again. The last few times I've drafted Tyreek, I've stayed away from that because I just don't want to have like all my Tyreek teams be Chief stacks because then it doesn't really seem necessary to have them all be, but it's nice to have some of them be. So I won't be taking Joe Mixon. I'm either going to take Javonte or one of the Kelsey, Diggs, or AJ Brown. I'm not really like that against Joe Mixon or anything. I've got like just pretty decent amount of Joe Mixon. Ooh, that's cool. So we're going to take Javonte or Diggs. Be on our way. Kind of glad Kelsey went, so I didn't really have to decide. I was kind of leaning against wanting to do the Casey thing again, but I might have done it. I'm going to take Javonte here just because I've already got some Diggs and Tyreek, so I have a couple Diggs Tyreek teams. I don't have any Javonte Tyreek teams, and Javonte is definitely a guy I like. I'm a little, I have like 9% Javonte, which is a little over the field, but I'd like to have some more. I just tend to not get him that much because I'm never taking him over Devontae Adams. So anytime I'm like down at that end, I'm pretty much taking Adams, and then Javonte usually doesn't make it back to me. Plus, like, I've done a couple weird things at the turn just for, like, once at the turn I took Allen and Diggs just to have an Allen and Diggs team. I know you can actually get an Allen and Diggs team without doing that, but I just wanted to see what it would look like when I did it. Hated my team, so don't recommend it. Probably wasn't a great idea, but I wanted to experiment in one draft and didn't like how my team looked, so wouldn't recommend it. I know that some people have said they've gotten like a decent amount of like Diggs plus Allen in round 2-3. That has not happened for me at all. And I've pretty much taken Diggs whenever I could take him in round 2. Outside of maybe a couple times like super close to the turn. So there's been like the 2 QB versus 3 QB argument going on. I definitely think 3 QBs is optimal. That doesn't necessarily mean what people think it means. People think when you say things like that, it means that you would only take that every single draft. There's like other factors to consider in. But you definitely get more points overall with 3 QB. Because the third QB on average scores more points than your 9th wide receiver does or 6th running back does on average. Like adds more points to your team. So like pretty much when I'm looking to be 2 QB is when I have like somebody like Josh Allen all the way down to Fields. If I have one of those guys, and then my second quarterback is somebody between Watson and Tannehill minus Derek Carr. So if my second quarterback is like Watson, Cousins, Lawrence, Tannehill, then I'll usually just go 2 QBs. If like the second guy is one of those guys. Actually, if it's Watson, I'm probably going 3 QBs. So when I'm going 2 QBs, it's one of the top 13 guys with Cousins, Lawrence, or Tannehill. Those are pretty much the only builds I'm really looking to be 2 QB in. Other than that, I would prefer to be 3 QB. There's also the times where like the draft just falls weirdly, where I get 2 of the top 13 guys, and then obviously those drafts I'm also looking to only be 2 QB. But in general, I would lean towards 3 QB. Now the important thing is like there's like a window of quarterbacks I'm just like really not drafting much of. So like I'm trying to stay away from certain quarterbacks like that I just don't think have that high a weekly upside. And like, yes, last year Goff had his spike week there at a good time. I'm going to take a tight end here. Interesting that we could take Mahomes. I really have like no Mahomes. Might convince myself to change my mind here. All right, I have like 3% Patrick Mahomes, so I'm just going to take Mahomes here. And we'll figure out tight end later on. So this will probably be one where we're a little more open to being 2 QB than usual. But let's see how things fall. So yeah, there's certain quarterbacks I'm just like not that interested in because I don't really believe in their weekly ceilings, even though some of them have had decent weekly ceiling games. Like Mac Jones, I'm pretty much staying away from. Baker Mayfield, I'm pretty much staying away from. Tua, I mean, because of where he's drafted, I usually just like not very interested. Oh wow, the Kelsey guy took a second tight end. He took Waller, going with super bully tight end. Definitely don't like that. It's not the worst, but I like having 2 strong tight ends, but like usually my second tight end is from this Freiermuth, Gesicki, Fant, Hunter Henry, Schultz, from that general area. Wow, Herbert goes off the board. Did he not have Keenan Allen? Huh. This has been an interesting draft so far. I was definitely not expecting to take Patrick Mahomes when I took Javonte. Like when I was thinking about my 3rd round pick, I wasn't really thinking about taking Mahomes, but kind of remembered that I have no Mahomes. Like the only time that I've drafted Mahomes is that I think twice, and they were both like when I took Tyreek, Kelsey, Mahomes. So it's kind of nice to have a Mahomes that's not tied to that exact build. Let's see if he goes George Kittle for the triple QB. So we're probably looking at DJ Moore and Mike Evans. Obviously, I'd take Kittle if he gets to it, but I don't see that happening. Like this guy or this guy will take Kittle. I think I'm going to take DJ Moore because I have quite a bit more Mike Evans than I do DJ Moore. Oh, he took DJ Moore. So I guess we'll take Mike Evans after this guy takes Kittle. Cool. Saw that Ali Marpet from the Buccaneers retired today. That's pretty tough for them. He's only 28 years old, really good guard. So see him walk away so young is probably good, for him as a person, but kind of sucks for the NFL and particularly the Buccaneers. NFC South is going to be a brutal division this year. Hoping my Saints can put something together and get Winston back on the team, and probably be the favorites to win that division right now if you just stuck Winston on their roster. But I mean, it's a lot of work for everyone to go down. Right now, with the current rosters, I guess Atlanta would be the favorite since they're the only team that has an NFL QB. So not hating how this team is shaping up so far. Be a little strange that we don't have one of the top tight ends. I'm used to having that, but that's okay. There's plenty of other decent tight ends. My tight end ownership is really consolidated. I am overweight on all the top guys except for Waller. That's not because I'm avoiding Waller. It's just the way drafts have fallen. I just haven't gotten him as much. Actually, I have Waller above Kittle, but I've gotten more Kittle. Hawkinson, I'm at the field. Kelsey above. Pitts way above. Mark Andrews above. Goddard above. Knox above. Freiermuth way above. Schultz I'm not above. I guess just think it has to do with the pockets that he falls into where he's drafted. So we're not really beholden to drafting anything here. Could draft whatever we want. I'd love to get another Michael Thomas share. I really like his value. I think Michael Thomas is one of the few guys that could be the Cooper Kupp of this year. And by the Cooper Kupp, I don't mean he can finish wide receiver 1 because I don't think that's in his range of outcomes. But I do think he's a guy going in around 4 or 5 that can finish in the top 5 wide receivers. Especially since the Saints redid his contract, so he's not leaving the Saints. There's just no way they can trade him now. It doesn't make any sense. They'd be on the hook for infinity dollars. So I do think that Michael Thomas will stay with the Saints, which means that Michael Thomas's target share is going to be monstrous again. I think Travis Etienne and Josh Jacobs are fine picks here. I think Pittman's fine. I'm kind of just staying away from Chris Godwin for now because we don't know where he is in his recovery and that kind of stuff. I really do like the value on running backs later, so I would prefer Michael Thomas here to Etienne, but I'm taking one of those two. Now that Etienne has fallen to us, I'm kind of reconsidering. I'm going to go with Michael Thomas. There's just a lot of running backs I like that we can get later, and I'm trying to push my Michael Thomas ownership up. At the moment, he's one of the guys I'm actually targeting. Etienne is the guy I still have way more than the field. I think I have 14 or 15% Etienne. Guys I'm really looking at the moment are Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson, Rob Gronkowski. It's starting to feel like if Rob Gronkowski was going to retire, he would have done it by now, right? So he's a guy I only have 2% of, but recently I've been kind of pushing it. And him as your second tight end is really, really strong. Last year, a lot of my teams that advanced were teams that had Gronk on them. Of course, I had a lot of Gronk with Tom Brady, so that sure didn't hurt. Okay, it looks like we will not be taking a running back here. As the only two I would have considered went off the board. That's fine. Might take Dallas Goedert here. I also have interest in Pittman, Hollywood, Darnell Mooney, a little bit of interest in Renfro too, a little bit of interest in Burks. Gabe Davis is a guy I kind of I need to start fading if I'm not taking Josh Allen because I have him on so many Josh Allen teams and some other teams that aren't Josh Allen. But basically every Josh Allen team I think I have him on except for maybe one. So I'm kind of getting too much of him. I feel like he's very, very overpriced. So I'd sort of like to avoid that. What happens if we skip Dallas Goedert here? I think we're fine if we skip him. But what are we skipping him for? We're skipping him for Hollywood? Let's just take Goddard. I think Goddard is going to ascend to the elite tight end group this year. Got like a 24 or 25% target share after Ertz left last year. And I mean, like, even if Philly were to change quarterbacks, it's probably not bad for Dallas Goedert, which I don't think Philly is. I have a ton of Hurts, but I mean, anything's possible. They have 3 first-round picks, so I'm not going to pretend I know what's going to happen with that situation. It seems like their owner really is like not in on Hurts, so really liking the start to this team. I think the only real decision point we kind of had was Etienne versus Michael Thomas. So with my portfolio, like I said, I'm trying to get more Michael Thomas, so that one was pretty cool with me. So we could kind of leave this team open to being just 2 quarterbacks or just 2 tight ends. Most of my builds right now, I'm sticking with 6 running backs and 9 wide receivers. I really like having like 3 times the amount of starting players you have. So like, when you have 9 wide receivers, you need to start 3. You have 3 times as many wide receivers as you need to start. Same with 6 running backs and 2. And that's kind of one of the things I like about quarterback. Like, I would rather have 3 quarterbacks to 1 starting spot than 3 tight ends, because tight ends score the least points and quarterbacks score the most points on average. But like I said, if you get a second strong quarterback with a stud, a second like pretty good quarterback with a stud, there's really not a reason to take a third one. But I do think on average 3 quarterbacks is optimal. So if I was to like teach a person that doesn't know what the hell they're doing this, I would tell them to draft 3 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. Like, we have a lot of knowledge ourselves where we can make more informed decisions. But if I was just teaching some random person, I think that's what I would tell them. So we could look at RB here. We could also look at Allen Robinson or Robert Woods, who I think are extremely good values. There goes Robert Woods. I do like the upside of Claypool as well, but I think Allen Robinson is a guy that, once we hit projections season, I wouldn't be surprised if Allen Robinson's like getting drafted in round 5, because he's gonna be on a new team that pays him a boatload of money, right? So like, people are just gonna start projecting him for like 80,010 or 80,008 or something like that. And in round 7 or 8, that's like crazy value. He could kind of be like similar to like Debo of last year. Not as high ceiling. Debo had more yards than that. Debo had all the rushing craziness. But Debo was going 2 rounds earlier as well. Let's take Allen Robinson here. I've been taking him like a good bit ahead of ADP because I really want to push my ownership. Like, I want to have like 30% Allen Robinson while he's this cheap. Not because of closing line value, just because I think you're going to get way better production than this out of him. That's another thing I find, like, people are just falling into these weird patterns of saying words that don't apply to situations. It's like whenever you mention somebody's going to be picked earlier or later, they're like, well, we don't care about closing line value. I'm like, well, that's not what it's about. Like, I want a guy that's going to go around in round 3 in the future and round 6 now, because his projections are vastly going to change, and then that's going to make him look like a stronger pick in round 6. So I don't know. I do think we could possibly skip running back again. Let's see what happens depending on what's left for us here at wide receiver. Chase Claypool makes it to us. I'm likely going to pick him. If AJ Dillon makes it to us too, that's going to be a little tough. Ah, nice. Oh, wait. No, it's not tough. I'm just going to take Chase Claypool. Sweet. So we only have our hero RB, but that's fine. This is generally, I draft a lot of teams. I'm often able to, in round 9, get a running back that I would consider like better than your normal hero RB teams. So, like, I think guys like Isaiah Spiller and Miles Sanders are much better than the running backs you're usually getting injured running back 2 in this type of build. So that's kind of why I really, really, really like hero RB right now in these drafts. Has a lot to do with what running backs you're often able to luck into in round 9. Which for me, like after Cortland Sutton, there's a pretty big tier break at wide receiver. So we're 9 picks away. We definitely might get closed out of that running back tier, which is fine. Usually when I get closed out of that running back tier, I try to grab Ramondre Stevenson because I think he has monster upside, and I think at worst he'll be in some sort of a split to start with Damian Harris. And at best, if something happens to Damian Harris, I think Stevenson actually has a higher overall upside than Harris does, because I don't think Harris will take on pass catching duties much. I mean, he'll probably take on a few, but not much, even if Stevenson were hurt. But if Harris were hurt, Stevenson could get like the whole shebang. Tony Pollard is just too rich for me. I basically have like no Tony Pollard right now, but I have tons of like other guys that are similar. I just have, I have like 27% Daryl Henderson, because there's no reason why he should be priced any differently than Tony Pollard. What we saw from Daryl Henderson last year was that he could step in and rock and roll that role. So we're kind of hoping one of Walker, Spiller, Sanders drops to us here. If all 3 go, that'll be pretty painful, because that's a tier break at running back for me. And I might even consider just taking Cortland Sutton at that point. Don't like our prospects at the moment. Oh, that was good for us. Oh, Spiller and Sanders, I definitely have been taking a lot of both. I think I'll take Spiller here, because I think he has a bit more upside. Plus, like, a lot of times when I'm having to make this same decision, my first running back's Breece Hall. And when my first running back's Breece Hall, I'm usually taking Miles Sanders so that I'm not like getting locked into double rookie. So I've taken Sanders over Spiller often because of that situation has come up often for me. So I don't mind going with the reverse here. I even had a couple times where like I've had one of them make it back around to me, and that's been pretty wild. Here we're probably looking at like Ramondre or a tight end. The wide receivers in this grouping I just do not care for much. I guess we can take a look at quarterback too. Though I don't see anything going on really with stacking. I guess there's Winston, and the possibility stays with the Saints to go with Michael Thomas, but I've already done that one a few times, so definitely open to it, but I'm not going to prioritize that. Could take Trevor Lawrence and then just kind of shut off quarterback. Really do like the upside of Trevor Lawrence. So I have interesting Gesicki, Noah Fant, Ramondre, Trevor Lawrence. kind of hoping someone takes Ramondre before me, so that I don't have to choose that one, but between him and someone else. Nice. So I was definitely going to take Ramondre. Now I'm kind of open. I could take one of the tight ends, but I think I'm just going to go with a 2 quarterback build this time because I started with Mahomes, and now that I've got Trevor Lawrence, I can just close off. So I'm probably going to take 2 later tight ends now to go with Goddard. So unless some sort of real crazy value falls to me at tight end, this could even be one where I only take 2 of each, depending on what happens at tight end. Could look at Dan Arnold later to go with Trevor Lawrence as well. I haven't taken Trevor Lawrence in quite a few drafts, so that was kind of cool. Though I would definitely have taken Ramondre had he fallen one more spot to us there. So far, this team's looking interesting. We got Mahomes and Lawrence, got Javonte and Spiller, Tyreek, Mike Evans, Mike Thomas, Allen Robinson, and Chase Claypool. And we have Dallas Goedert. See if there's any people I recognize up in here from Spike Week. Not really. Cooper Kupp. I'm so jealous. This team looks pretty cool. I really do like Tony Pollard, obviously. I just don't particularly like his cost. I just prefer a lot of guys that are in his range. I'd rather have Rashad Penny, Isaiah Spiller, Kenneth Walker, Miles Sanders. Guys that don't need an injury for things to break their way. So because I'm not really ending up with any Pollard, I'm ending up with, like I said, a ton of Daryl Henderson and a ton of Khalil Herbert. Really liked what Khalil Herbert showed when he was filling in for David Montgomery last year. I think 2 summers in a row David Montgomery has gotten hurt too, but he's managed to be ready for week 1 both times. Got my eye on Melvin Gordon, Kyron Williams. Some interest in Cole Kmet, but not overly. I have some interest, obviously, in LaVisca and Marvin Jones, too, because I have Trevor Lawrence. Hoping Melvin Gordon would get to us. That kind of stinks. I've gotten some really late Melvin Gordon. It's a pretty reasonable chance he gets a starting role. Then he's just going to end up having been an incredible value in these round 11s. This guy I'm pretty overweight on. Madison's another one of the top end backups I don't really quite have as much of as I would like. He went off the board. If Kyron Williams goes here, it's kind of ugly for us. I might take Cole Kmet if he goes. I think at worst case, Kyron Williams ends up in a high volume passing role for a team, and best case, I think you get something like you got with Michael Carter last year, but hopefully with him not taking as long to work into that role. But I think it's more reasonable to think it will take him a while to work into that role. So we're definitely high risk at running back, but like I said, that's what I like to be in these drafts. Seeing as I've already drafted 2 rookie running backs, I'm probably going to I might take a third because sometimes they're just the best values, but I'm going to attempt to build with some non-rookies. I like Jarvis Landry, LaVisca. best that was left. Marvin Jones, obviously, to go with. Lawrence would be fine too. I'd rather get LaVisca just because I have quite a bit of Marvin Jones and T-Law already. I realized LaVisca showed pretty much nothing last year, but that whole offense was a giant pile of crap last year, and I think Doug Peterson taking over can't hurt. Urban Meyer was bad. So we're either going to go with LaVisca or Marvin Jones, depending on what this guy does. Then I'm probably going to be looking at Daryl Henderson in the next round. I might even get Marvin Jones in the next round. Sometimes he just really, really falls deep in these drafts. So if he's there, we'll consider double stacking Trevor Lawrence. If we miss Marvin Jones, it's fine. We can actually consider double stacking with Dan Arnold later, who is a guy I don't really like taking much unless I have Trevor Lawrence. I just think that there's some better bets down there. I think David Njoku, Rob Gronkowski, Brevin Jordan are all just better bets than Dan Arnold. Though he did look pretty decent when he was in Jacksonville. So, like I said, I have 20% Lawrence, so I've taken, I probably have 5% Dan Arnold or something. So I don't hate him or anything, but I think the ceiling for Njoku and Gronk is just way, way higher. I mean, Gronk's been really good when he's been healthy. Doesn't seem like we have any super crazy people in this draft. The 1182. It's kind of a slightly extreme. But none of those people that are just punting off with 8 running backs or 5 quarterbacks and the weird shit you see in some of these sometimes. None of that going on. Tannehill, Derrick Henry. This team seems kind of. I do get the super stack here with Tennessee. That's kind of cool. But I don't know. I don't love Ryan Tannehill as my quarterback one. But I mean, he paid off 2 years ago. So we're looking at Marvin Jones, Daryl Henderson. I'd like to kind of avoid Rashid White because I don't really want a third rookie running back right away on here. Marvin Jones won, so we're off the hook there. Probably going to look at Daryl Henderson, maybe Gus Edwards, maybe Khalil Herbert around the spot. We also could take McCole Hardman and have him to go with Patrick Mahomes. I guess we'll do that. I don't really like having McCole Hardman on a Tyreek team because I think that McCole Hardman's absolute ceiling comes when Tyreek gets hurt. But this is I don't have any team so far that have McCole and Tyreek and Mahomes. So maybe he'll grow into some sort of bigger role overall. I don't think so. But. So here we're going to look to either draft Daryl Henderson or Khalil Herbert. And hope they both don't go off the board. Which they definitely could. I do like Henderson and Herbert a little bit more than Gus Edwards, although Gus Edwards has more standalone value than those guys, actually. That is the consideration. I also don't love the fact that he's coming back from ACL, but so is Dobbins. So I do think because of Daryl Henderson's pass catching, he's a good bit better than Gus Edwards. Just because, like, even if Dobbins gets hurt, like, they're probably going to use Gus Edwards and somebody else, right? They're probably not only going to use Gus Edwards if Dobbins gets hurt. So the fact that Gus Edwards, like, doesn't catch passes is, and, like, he won't get 100% of the rushing work, in my opinion, even if Dobbins gets hurt. So definitely prefer Daryl Henderson to Gus Edwards. And I think I prefer Khalil Herbert too. Daryl Henderson goes off the board. All right, I'm going to take Edwards over Khalil Herbert in this case because I just have tons and tons of Khalil Herbert. I have like 20% Khalil Herbert and not much Gus Edwards. So I'm not really trying to like diversify myself to $1 million. I know, or whatever this contest's first prize is $50,000, but like I don't really have any strong feelings on Herbert versus Gus Edwards. So I'll take some shots on Gus Edwards when I'm getting him, a full round past ADP. And I own less of them. That's cool with me. So I do have interest in Gronk with my next pick. I would also not mind Njoku, kind of the pick after next. Herbert went off the board. Sony Michelle is a guy I absolutely love at ADP. Like, we've seen him get work like pretty much whenever he's not hurt in the NFL, and he like actually does stuff. So I'm a big fan. Big fan of Sony Michelle at ADP. Because he is pretty cheap. So we're still 11 picks away, which is quite a bit. Yeah, we've seen some pretty like normal drafting in this one. Evan Ingram might be useful if he goes to a new spot. I don't see how he's useful if he stays with the Giants. I just kind of feel like it's one of those like guy needs a change of scenery situations. So I'm kind of interested in McBride, Gronk, Arnold, and Njoku, all those guys. As far as picking up an extra tight end here. Ooh, Gronk, wow, that stinks. So now I'm looking at McBride, Arnold, and Njoku. John Mechie kind of sticks out talent-wise here as far as wide receivers go, but like he's also recovering from an ACL, so it's going to be like really hard for a rookie to get like volume when he's going to miss time in the summer like that. Like even I think Jameson Williams is probably going to start off pretty slow. Jameson Williams is at least worth it, I think, because he's probably going to absolutely smash in the fantasy playoffs if he's healthy at the time. John Mechie went off the board. I'm not really interested in any more KC guys since I already got 2 KC guys to go with Mahomes. I'm going to take Njoku here over Dan Arnold, even though I have Trevor Lawrence, just because I think he has a ton more upside. I might actually be interested in taking both of them, but I wanted to take Njoku first. Then we can see Dan Arnold goes. That's fine. So I think we'll probably not take another tight end right off. Might end up taking Albert O as like our third tight end. one of the last rounds. I like that one quite a bit if Fant gets hurt. We also could kind of stick at 2 tight ends with Njoku and Goddard if we want to. Throw another wide receiver. I really don't think we need to throw any more at wide receiver, considering like how strong our top is. But definitely like our wide receiver group a lot. So what do we want to do at running back? Doesn't look like anything is like super intriguing at wide receiver. I guess Alan Lazard is like a little intriguing. There's Gaskin, who's like the incumbent in Miami. But most people seem to think they're bringing in someone else, which they probably are. Keyshawn Vaughn's kind of the incumbent at the moment in Tampa. Could roll the dice on Keyshawn Vaughn. We could also just go down and take Sony Michelle. Could reach for Brevin Jordan here. Just gonna do that. I just don't like anything that's on the board right now, and he's like a guy I really like taking a shot on at tight end. So that was a tough one. Tough pick there. Don't love it. Don't hate it. So I think we're going to look to end with 2 more running backs, 2 more wide receivers. Skye Moore is a guy that I haven't really been able to like get ownership on that I would like to kind of try to snatch with one of my next picks. I like Lazard. Brian Robinson's fine. But still got a ways to go. Oof. This guy's got 1 tight end and a Trey McBride. That guy is in deep shit when it comes to tight end. As far as our own team, definitely running back is looking like our weakest position, but that's by design, right? So one thing I do want to mention is when you're drafting these hero RBs and, whatever, sort of 0 RB type teams, you don't want to manufacture too many weaknesses. What I mean by that is like if you're already doing kind of like what we're doing here, getting pretty risky at running back, you don't want to also have like your quarterback or your tight end be like extremely weak. Like I think this tight end group is definitely just fine, and our quarterbacks are obviously very good. But I see some people that like are drafting hero RB where they're also then punting quarterback or tight end, and like that's a lot that has to go right for your team to be any good. And like often you're getting just like overweighted at wide receiver when you're doing those sort of things, like to the point where you're probably starting to point block yourself a good amount. So definitely have interest in Lazard and Skye Moore for wide receivers. Running back, Sony Michelle is tops on the list. I don't mind Trey Sermon. I think he'll be the main backup there. There's some rookies I feel pretty good about still. Jerome Ford, Damian Pierce. Don't really like Zamir White, but a lot of people that I respect like Zamir White, so I'm willing to be open-minded to him. One guy nobody's been taking, I think is a little interesting, is Craig Reynolds from Detroit. He had like a pretty good year last year when he filled in and gained himself more of a role. And I don't know, do we think he could maybe be the real backup to DeAndre Swift? Like if Swift were to go down, could Craig Reynolds actually take the main role and then Jamal Williams just kind of stay in his complimentary role? I don't think that that's impossible. Frig, Skye Moore went again. Just can't get that guy. Stinks. So got my eye on Alan Lazard and Sony Michelle. kind of person here that was one quarterback. Is this the guy who had Derek? Yeah, Ryan Tannehill. See, like for example, when this guy was like going with Derrick Henry, like he's already engineered a weakness here, right? Like because his running backs behind Derrick Henry are poor. Damn, Sony Michelle won as well. Huh. So I guess if this guy takes Alan Lazard, we're just going to puke because there's absolutely nothing we want. Don't hate Cole Beasley. Do you think he'll probably be a starting slot wide receiver for someone? Take Lazard, pretty good. Aaron Rodgers doesn't leave. I think he had good amount of touchdowns last year, like 8 or something crazy like that. Sterling Shepard's a guy I'm not drafting at all. So what are we looking at next round? I wouldn't mind Trey Sermon or Jamal Williams. I think I might take a shot on Craig Reynolds in this draft, so that might make me not want Jamal Williams. I guess there's a chance Donta Foreman goes back and is the backup again for the Titans too, right? So we should probably have him on our radar. I really haven't taken him much, but he really hasn't been available late much either for me. Played pretty good last year. Easily off the board. So yeah, going back to this team, like you've engineered a weakness here. Now you've also engineered kind of a weakness at quarterback, and like your tight end is fine, but it's not like amazing, right? So you have like 2 weaknesses and just like an okay tight end group. I don't like teams that are built like that. With the multiple weaknesses. So we're either going to take Donta Foreman or Trey Sermon here. I'll take Foreman. I haven't taken him at all, so that's cool. 2 picks left. Kind of going to decide between what rookies are available or Craig Reynolds as far as running backs go. Wide receivers, I have interest in Christian Watson, Tolbert, Slayton, Shakir. RBs. I didn't realize Craig Reynolds didn't even manage a touchdown last year. For some reason, it seemed like he was better than that. So the wide receivers in our queue are kind of starting to rip off there. I might have to look at some more options. I like the dude from San Francisco a good bit. Throw him there, down to Harris. Not in on Jamal Agnew. I don't mind Josh Reynolds, but like it's got to get a little uglier before I'm into Josh Reynolds. I'd rather take like a Shakir that's got a bit more upside or Jennings. And obviously my dude Darius Slayton down there, I think is very talented. I think that team is sort of wide open for him to end up getting a decent amount of targets between Sterling Shepard, I believe, cut, and Galladay and Tony seem to both be banged up a decent amount. So he's a guy I could see winding up with way more targets than we thought he would. I think I thought Craig Reynolds was better last year than he actually was. Did have some catches and stuff, but I don't know. I'm not sure that the upside is there that I would like to take him over Jerome Ford or James Cook. So I think that great idea has been pooped down a little bit. Daryl Henderson's obviously Daryl Williams is obviously really interesting still. If the Chiefs don't add a running back, my problem with him at the moment is I think that they're very likely to add a running back. That makes me not like him as much. I'm fine slamming tons of Daryl Williams if they don't add one, but I just think it's so likely now that it doesn't really make sense to be taking him now. It's not like his price is going to go absolutely wild or anything. I think I will take Slayton or Jerome Ford here, depending on which one drops to us. I do like Slayton quite a bit more than these other wide receivers on the board. I believe Dearness Johnson is an exclusive rights free agent, so not sure how much I really like him. Because Hunt's going to be back, and Chubb's going to be back, right? So he may need multiple injuries to hit ceiling. So I guess we will close that off and figure out if there's any other running backs we want to have in this grouping. Not overly. I don't despise Hassan Haskins or Tyler Batty. Rex Burkhead. He's had some pretty decent usable weeks. It's Kennedy Brooks. This guy I haven't taken at all. That's is a reasonable dart throw. I tend to take Jerome Ford over James Cook because I think he has a better chance of ending up in a 3-down role with injuries and stuff, because Jerome Ford's just a lot bigger guy, and he's going to have that elite NFL speed when they test at the combine, so I think he's going to get pushed up boards, whereas I think James Cook is pretty much going to be pigeonholed into being a third down back type, and maybe he can get a little extra work with an injury, but don't think he quite has the ceiling that Jerome Ford does. So I'm going to take Ford if he is not taken. We'll go with that. So we ended up with 3 rookie running backs. That's fine. I would prefer to have 2, but what can you do? That's the way the draft worked out for us. So in the end, we end up with Mahomes. We got double stack with Tyreek and Cole. Not my favorite double stack to have, but like I said, I didn't have any of this exact stack yet, so I'm okay with having 1 out of my 50 entries have that stack. We've got Trevor with just LaVisca. We did miss out on Dan Arnold because we took Njoku over him. I think Njoku has an infinitely higher ceiling, so that's what I'm fine with. Don't mind Brevin Jordan down there. So yeah, we got Mahomes and Lawrence. Running back, we got Javonte Spiller, Kyron, Gus Edwards, Donta Foreman, and Jerome Ford. Obviously, we're going to need a lot to go right for us at running back for this team to smash, but at least we have that possibility. I mean, Isaiah Spiller ends up on the Cardinals or something, and sky's the limit there. Not the best prospect profile, but also I think it's being overstated how bad these rookie running backs are. I think he's fine. Kyron obviously needs to, things need to break right for him to be good, because he's definitely going to be more of a third down back type guy. Gus Bus, Donta Foreman, Jerome Ford. Pretty mediocre depth there. Then we got Tyreek, Mike Evans, Mike Thomas, Allen Robinson, Chase Claypool, Visca, Mecole, Lazard, and Darius Slayton. I think our wide receiver group is pretty bonkers, and I think we're just fine at tight end with Goddard, Njoku, and Jordan. Not exceptional, but definitely good enough. Anyways, thanks for watching, and good luck in your drafts, folks.